Upstairs portion of your home. I need you to stay away from windows. If you're in Boston, you have to be in your tornado safe location right now. Thinking down the line in Cravens and Bardstown, I need you to get into your safe spot right now in Cravens and in the Bardstown area. The rotation will go very, very close to Bardstown, and as I look within that storm, there are signals of what I would refer to as a debris signature within that storm, possibly. So where the rotation is, we're looking at radar, and it does show potentially that it could be lofting something. I don't think it's a 100% chance, but if you're in that Boston area, that area of rotation is sitting right on top of you right now. It is a dangerous time. Obviously, I think it goes without saying this is not the time to be trick-or-treating in Nelson County. We need to be very, very cautious. Rotation sitting over Boston. That means in about 6 to 8 minutes will be in the Cravens area, and about 12 minutes from now to around 15 minutes from now, around 6:25 in the Bardstown area. Start to prepare right now in Bardstown for a potential tornado warning moving towards you. And you can see as we look at the rotation, it has now just moved a little bit past the Boston area. Rotation we've been watching it. It's come up and it's gone down a little bit, but over the last couple of scans, and in particular the last two, rotation definitely came up within that. You got to be in your safe spot right now in the Cravens area and in the Bardstown area. Rick, we've been watching these storms as you throw a track on there, putting it at 22 in the Bardstown area. We've been watching these storms as we've kind of watched this through the evening. And what we have seen within the storms is they've had some persistent rotation on them. And over the last basically hour or so, there's probably been 2 times where we were really concerned. And one of those was west of E-Town. And on that latest scan, again, concerns us again.
Right. And this is kind of the situation where it's a brief, quick spin up. These will not be long duration storms that are kind of out ahead of the main line. But these sort of quick spin ups, it's a situation that can catch you off guard. Yeah. You're not ready for it. So there's really no point at all to have the kids outside. Just keep them in. Trick-or-treating is a no-go right now, especially down across those areas. We have multiple severe thunderstorm warnings. We now have a tornado warning for Nelson County, that until 6:30. So about 20 more minutes until this storm system will be out of your hair, out of your neck. But there's a lot of rain behind it. So flooding also a threat mark. And you actually mentioned there were several roadways being reported where water was covering some of those.
And we've got some reports out of the E-Town area that there was some flooding that was occurring on roads. We did also get some out of the Shepherdsville area. And in Louisville, you know, again, I think it's very important to note here, if you're thinking about in Louisville, do I go outside trick-or-treating right now? I can answer that for you. No, you don't. And here's the reason why. You've got heavy rain and you have lightning clustered in the southern part of the county. And, you know, I do event forecasting, and I can tell you, you don't want to be outside when there's lightning striking. And even in when we talk about our news team coverage, they make adjustments if we have lightning or thunder within the county. So it is dangerous. This is not a time where you can go outside trick-or-treating in Louisville. It is just simply not. If you chose to not go outside, I think you kind of have decided that you're not going to go trick-or-treating here in Louisville this year, in my opinion. We've got gusty winds that continue right now from Mount Washington into Boston. So that area of rotation right now is approaching Cravens. This is moving fast, east at 45 miles per hour. And Rick, I'm going to go over to Storm View 3D, which is where you have been kind of looking at the storms. So I apologize if we do a little flicker there. You're looking at left and right. So on the left, you've got rotation, and on the right, you're trying to see is there any debris in there. And immediately as I look at that, I think what you're probably going to say is that rotation doesn't look the same as it did about even 6 minutes ago.
Absolutely. So I can kind of prove that to you. Let me rewind a couple of frames. And this is where we had that tornado warning where it was issued, where Mark kind of mentioned the possibility that a little debris possibly being lofted from this particular cell with that rotation, which is just to the west of Boston. And then I fast forward, and what you kind of notice is that area of rotation where the greens and the reds are right next to each other kind of goes away, and so does that little area of blue on the right-hand side of your TV screen telling you, well, we could have had a brief spin up there. I think in terms of the rotation aspect, that has definitely dropped significantly. But does that mean the threat is over? Absolutely not. The way these things work, they can kind of drop and then reform pretty quickly. So you still need to be on guard if you're inside that tornado warned box for the possibility for a brief spin up. And it's not just in this location. There's been several little kinks in the line in areas where we could quickly see a situation like this unfold yet again. We're going to go back over now to Storm View. Let's go back over to HD, or 3D rather, and just show you where the storms are across Kentucky. And you can see a lot of the area dealing with rain, dealing with thunderstorms, and lightning is a threat. Severe thunderstorms aren't classified by lightning.
Absolutely.
It's only for hail. It's only for wind, has nothing to do with lightning. So that's a serious threat. You don't want to have kids running outside when there's lightning covering a good chunk of the area.
You're right. And, you know, I do a lot of forecasting for NCAA events, and I can tell you that when there's lightning in the area, they delay. And I've had to delay many games, many events in our area, and it's because of lightning. It's dangerous. You know, I think that if you know, in a sense, I would clear a stadium for lightning strikes, I can tell you that I guarantee you I would not send kids out trick-or-treating in this kind of a scenario. So we have lightning right now clustered in the southeastern part of Jefferson County. There's lightning strikes right now near Mount Washington, near, let's say, around the Fern Creek area, and that extends through Shelbyville. You cannot send the kids out trick-or-treating in that. This is an area where we've got this little bow, this little line. And so within that little line, I think gusty winds remain a problem here. So we have a couple issues here. Gusty winds within the line, and obviously even that potential for a quick tornado spin up. So the timing on this one, Hodgenville, 8 minutes from now, I think you could see winds up to 40 miles an hour. At 9 minutes from now in the Bardstown area, we're watching that storm. Does have a tornado warning. We'll go and do a scope on the velocity here in a moment. And 23 minutes from now, it'll be in the Bloomfield area. The severe part of that line goes from around Bardstown south through New Haven. And so anybody on the nose of this line will see gusty winds. Rick is going to put what we call a scope. And what that allows me to do is look within the storm and determine, is the rotation something I'm going to be concerned about? And Rick, let's make that fairly sizable like you have there. And let's rock that back a couple of frames and then forward so you can see. As that storm approached Boston, here is that area of rotation. It looked a little bit more significant at this point, and you can see those reds and those greens. So what the reds are telling you is that the wind's blowing away from the radar, and the green says they're blowing towards. So if those are next to each other, that means that area is rotating. Over Boston, you can see that area of rotation looks strong here. You'll notice as it starts to slide off to the east, you're probably saying, Mark, that rotation doesn't look as tight as it was. Exactly. Doesn't mean that the threat's over here, but these cycle. These, if you're to get a tornado, occur very quickly. These are not the long-lived ones, but since they occur so quickly and they are shrouded within rain, you're not going to see them. So if you're thinking, hey, I'm going to go outside and take a look, this is not that day. The storms will continue into the Bardstown area about 8 minutes from now, and as we go down that line, we continue with strong thunderstorms. Remember, we still have the warning off to the south as well near the Nelsonville area, Roanoke. So if you're in Roanoke, 40, 45 to even 50 mile per hour winds are possible. New Haven, 50, maybe up to 60 mile per hour winds. We're not seeing any hail within the line. Primary threat that we have seen thus far within this line has been gusty winds. Culvertown 13 minutes from now, puts it in New Haven 15 minutes from now, and in the Greenbrier area around 23 minutes from now. Rick, you know, obviously this is not the night we wanted. You know, you and I talked about this yesterday, kind of ironically in a sense, but we are heading into the secondary peak of our severe weather season. While we normally don't see the same type of tornadoes that we see during the spring, this is a time of the year when we can get active. And obviously, you're looking at lightning strikes out there. I mean, if you think about it, when there's a lightning strike, I have to walk outside, I run in my car. I don't want to be out there. The idea of going out trick-or-treating on something like this is not a good idea.
Yeah, it's a terrible idea. In fact, it's a situation where you should be inside, away from windows, especially in Nelson County, right around the Bardstown area, due to the fact that you have the ongoing tornado warning. Just south of that, a severe thunderstorm warning. That one for wind gusts up to 60 miles an hour. As Mark was saying, it is not worth the risk at this point in time. We have ongoing rain in Louisville. Now, it might kind of break up. I know parts of Indiana not seeing anything at all in terms of rainfall, but we are looking at quite a bit of rainfall and healthy rainfall rates down to the south. I can actually turn on the rainfall rates, just telling you how much rainfall is falling over a short period of time. And these numbers probably in the upper echelon, maybe 2, 3, 4 inches of rain per hour, especially around that bow in the line, which is approaching Nelson County, 2 to 3 inch per hour rainfall rates. And there's one which is closing in on 4. So heavy rain. There's areas of gusty winds, possible rotation within that storm around Bardstown. Yes, it looks like the rotation has come down a little bit. It's more unidirectional, but there are multiple threats out there. No reason to have the kids outside if you are near any sort of thunderstorm. So here's the line. And I want to mention one more time the structure of this storm. You can kind of see it does have this bowing appearance to it, and that's a forward acceleration of those winds, which is why in Bardstown what's going to happen, the winds are going to pick up, rain's going to come down in buckets, but hopefully you are not anywhere near a window to see that happening just because of this red box. And you can see the National Weather Service has trimmed the western extent of that, but keeping that tornado warning for Bardstown, Nelson County. So if you are in Bardstown, heavily populated area, now's the time to be inside. It's right along 62. It also includes areas like Nazareth, 31E, and here is the Bluegrass Parkway, right there, just south of East Bardstown. If you have friends, if you have family traveling along that right now, give them a quick call and tell them, hey, tornado warning in place. Hopefully you can find a safe place to go. Indoors would be best opportunity if you are driving in that area. Tracking it off to the east, East Bardstown, 14 minutes, and it does look like Maud about 27 to 30 minutes or so. This is the one storm, the strongest that we're keeping an eye on for the potential for that rotation. But Mark, I'm still looking at it. It doesn't really seem like it has a great potential in terms of the rotation, but again, it's just something that can kind of pop up out of nowhere. Catch you off guard, so it's just worth staying inside and playing it safe.
And speaking to, you know, the height of these thunderstorms, the fact that you kind of mentioned that if you were to catch a tornado, there would be quick spinners, and you can see here the storm on the peak side here is only at about 28,000 feet, and the core jumps to about 22. So you're not looking at storms that penetrate deep into the atmosphere. These are more of the shallow type of thunderstorms. National Weather Service in the status update that Rick mentioned says severe thunderstorms still capable of producing a tornado located near the Bardstown area, moving east at 30 miles per hour. If you're in the Bardstown area right now, I think it goes without saying this is not the time to go trick-or-treating. This is the time where I need you in your safe spot. You don't need to be thinking when, it's now. Bardstown, safe spot now. Tornado warning will be in effect until 6:30. Rotation within that part of the line here. I'll show you as I turn it on. Still, as you look, there's no question that the storm has some rotation here. You can see near the Cravens area. So we've got that wind. Remember, reds are the outbounds going away from the radar where the greens are inbounds. So as these connect here, you have your area of rotation that is sitting very, very close to 62 right now, near the Cravens area, moving into Bardstown. The core of that may go just a touch off to the north of the Bluegrass Parkway, but nonetheless, it is going to be very close to Bardstown. And even if whether it produces a tornado or not, you're still talking about a thunderstorm that has the capability of producing winds to 50 or 60 miles per hour. Strong thunderstorm right now moving through Roanoke. That one's going to be in the New Haven area in the next 15 minutes. That one's probably got some 50, maybe up to 60 mile per hour winds. And looking at Louisville, moderate heavy rain continues, and taking it out to the wide perspective and putting it into motion here. I mean, Rick, the severe weather threat is not something that we anticipate as a long duration threat. If that's to occur, probably in the next 90 minutes would be the most likely time frame. But you can see as we go out to the west, you got a problem here. I mean, we got a real issue. We've talked about this on what has been a remarkably rainy year. We're going to add to that number tonight. And on Election Tuesday, we may add another significant amount. But you got to be careful. You can get flooding in a situation like this really quick.
Absolutely. So what we're going to do is kind of focus on the severe threat for now. But that threat's going to transition more to a flooding threat in the hours to come. And it's not just tonight. It's tomorrow, and there's more rain on Friday. This is going to be just the beginning of a really soggy stretch, and we are just going to tally up those totals pretty quickly, especially in some of these areas where rainfall is coming down so intense, fast and furious in areas like Bardstown, also E-Town, Mount Washington rather, getting a lot of rain, rainfall rates, and some of the rainfall totals actually around an inch point in Fairdale. You're looking at an inch in Valley Station,
wow.
1.31 in Fern Creek. And this is just the first wave of showers and storms coming through.
We've had Louisville down for a 2 to 4 inch rainfall, and I think we're going to fall into that number as this thing comes to an end. But obviously, you know, as you get, there's going to be areas that see significantly more and areas that see significantly less. Coming back over to Rick here, you're looking at Storm View 3D right now. On the left is your traditional reflectivity. That's what you normally see on radar. On the right is where we look to see if there would be any rotation in there. Rick, I actually have a little more concern. It looks like that rotation maybe has come up a touch here. It's going to probably go on the northern edge of Bardstown. But either way, I think you're probably going to get some 50 to 60 mile per hour wind gusts. And with all the rain we have seen, that can do tree damage, even if you don't get a tornado. And even if these maybe are not that 60 we normally see, ground soggy. This can cause trees to go down.
Absolutely. So trees are coming down, potential there. Also a lot of leaves coming off those trees. You can get out there and slip. There's so much going on now. And Mark said this is like a secondary severe weather season. This is the time that the jet stream dips south. It gets a little more active. We have that wind energy aloft that we can tap into. which is why people typically think it's just spring. It's May, June, July. Those are the kind of months that we get severe weather. Well, no. When you get into November, October, and December, especially the early part of it, that's when you can kind of have some of the ingredients needed to create severe weather. And we're also in peak heating right now, Mark, which is why severe threat is at its highest right now due to the fact we didn't see much sun out there, but just enough instability in the atmosphere that these storms can tap into some of that. Once we lose daytime heating, sunset about 20, 30 minutes away now at 6:45, we'll see the severe threat lower. But the flooding threat is going to be something we're going to have to watch very carefully tonight and into the next couple of days with multiple waves of rain. The rainfall is definitely going to be an issue in Bardstown. I know you have not seen a drop yet, but if you look westbound, it's an ugly picture out there.
Absolutely.
We have probably a real lowering in the clouds. It's moving your way. Wind gusts I've seen on here.
Hey, what are
a
you
couple
looking at
of
in those
gates.
peak gates?
So there's been some 43, 45 knots, so I would
50.
say at least 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts as this line approaches.
And that area, there's some subtle kinks within that line where we have seen rotation, one of those being just west of Nazareth and one almost directly west of Bardstown. So you can get quick spin-ups within that line. Rick, I'm going to let you look and see if we have any signatures to debris. I want to talk about quickly what Rick mentioned here. So you've got this kind of initial wave that's on the leading edge here. And so on the leading edge, this is where the greater threat of strong or severe would be, which would still include areas like Taylorsville, which would include obviously Bardstown, to the east of E-Town, Lebanon, Willisburg will watch. But what you'll notice is on the back edge, you're starting to transition more towards maybe a couple of strong, and then beyond that you get into what is going to be just consistently more rain. So if, and that key word is if, there's going to be anybody that sees severe, the greater threat, in my opinion, would have to be areas like Spencer County as you go through Hardin County, through Breckenridge, south through Grayson. I think that we could even see a couple in Hart County, Greene, Taylor, Marion County, and then moving off to the north. This area would have the better chance of seeing some strong or severe. So in Louisville, our air mass has been somewhat worked over by rain, but that's the problem for Louisville. Your issue here is we've already seen an inch of rain. The rain continues to fall here in Metro, and we continue to have problems, and we will. So I will say it again. If you're thinking about heading out trick-or-treating in Louisville, I gave you my expert opinion yesterday and told you that I would trick-or-treat last night. I said that it was the better of the two nights. What I would tell you is, as a professional opinion on this right now, with lightning in the area, my opinion is you don't go out there. You don't chance trick-or-treating when you've got lightning. It is not safe for you to be outside, and it's not safe for your kids to be outside when you've got lightning in the county here. I mean, if you're going in southern Indiana right now, there's not a lot of lightning. I will say that I still don't think it's going to be enjoyable, but at least you don't have that lightning threat. In the metro here, in particular, southeast Jefferson County, we do have the lightning threat, which makes it dangerous. And you've got heavy rain continuing to fall. And what just simply put is not a nice night outside. And you take even the severe weather off the table and just specifically talk to rain. Rick's highlighting some areas. I mean, when it's raining here, some of this rain's coming down 2.5, 3.5 inch rates per hour, which is really tall rainfall rates. So it can come down quickly, it can flood roadways. So you've got multi-risk tonight. In particular, if you're outside, you can get flooding very, very quickly. Obviously, you don't want to be outside with that occurring. And we continue here with strong to even severe thunderstorms as we move south along the line. So that storm right now over Bardstown, Rick, let's do a scope on that and see what we've got in the Bardstown area right now on that rotation. So what Rick's going to do is show me that rotation. And again, near that Nazareth area, so halfway between Nazareth and Bardstown, that area of rotation is still enough to watch. Weather Service keeps a tornado warning in effect till 6:30, so we've got about another 3 minutes. We'll see if they extend, but I think honestly it's conceivable. There is the latest radar scan. So that area of rotation now is past the Bardstown area. That area now is heading into the rural part of eastern Nelson County, Bardstown here, Nazareth here, where we've got our rotation just off to the east of that. As far as any debris signatures within that, Rick, you've been monitoring Storm View 3D. That gives you an ability to look within the storms, and what you're trying to identify is the radar showing anything being lifted underneath that area of rotation, because if that occurs, that can let you know that there might be a better signal for a tornado.
Right, and kind of the way this works is you look for this area of rotation within inside your storm. So you see your classic reflectivity. We've highlighted that area, that little scope, kind of like an X-ray into the storm where we see the potential rotation. And right there to the north and to the east of Bardstown, just crossing over 31E, is where that area of rotation is. And we've layered in there, when you match up an area of rotation with where what we call the CC, the correlation coefficient, when you match those two things together, it can indicate that something has been lofted in the air. Now, we're just waiting for some of the latest information. I would say it doesn't look like a huge threat at this point in terms of the rotation standard, but it's something that can happen and unfold in a matter of minutes and then go away, which is why I would say if you are in Nazareth, stay inside. Same story in Bardstown. This tornado warning only has a couple more minutes, and it's a situation tonight where even if this tornado warning expires, it's safe to say we could have another one pop up, let's say between now and 9 o'clock. We just need to wait for the atmosphere to stabilize a little bit, cool off with some of this rain, and once that happens, basically things will start to quiet down overnight, but we'll have to watch out for the potential for some flooding at that point in time. So still keeping an eye in the Bardstown area. Tornado warning continues, but it almost looks like in about another 10 minutes or so that storm will be moved out of that box.
They got to make a decision here shortly. So we've got 60 seconds left on the tornado warning. I'll let news know that if they do not extend the tornado warning, we'll come to break and we'll go, and then we'll come back to news here starting around 6:30 here. Severe thunderstorm warning remains in effect here. So two areas we have a severe thunderstorm warning and that tornado warning. First, the severe thunderstorm warning that's further south right now, Hardin, LaRue, Nelson County until 6:30. The National Weather Service, by the way, has just noted that they are going to replace the tornado warning at 6:30 with a severe thunderstorm warning, and what they're going to do is use what we call the tornado tag. So a tornado tag means that they're going to say severe thunderstorm warning for Nelson into Anderson County, and they're going to say that the main threat's damaging winds, but a quick spin tornado could occur. So there's the the severe thunderstorm warning I told you was coming. So the National Weather Service issued this for Anderson, Nelson, and Washington County until 7 p.m., and they issued it with the wording tornado possible. Again, what that means is damaging winds to 60 miles an hour as the primary threat, not really looking at hail, heavy rain, and a quick spin tornado could occur, but as it stands right now, they don't deem that threat large enough. Tornado warning allowed to expire at 6:30. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll have an update for you again coming up next.
Bet you never heard this.